Everyone knows what love feels like. Surely, right? I used to think that until I went on my own journey of discovering that what I thought was love wasn't really love at all. Like most people, I picked up my views of love from songs I'd heard on the radio and shows I'd heard on TV, married couples I knew, my family, my cultural beliefs. It wasn't until I took a deep dive into the research on love, what love looks like to psychologists, therapists, social workers, anthropologists, that I realized that there was this huge difference between what love was supposed to feel like and what it actually felt like for me. I found out that the love that I'd gotten for most of my life didn't seem to fit what these researchers were talking about. What they were talking about seemed too good to be true. And I'd never seen anything like that. And I'm going to take a guess that some of you might be in the same shoes, because I regularly get messages from women who are in these really difficult relationships. Their boyfriends are angry, and these women have gotten used to being accused of all sorts of things and told they're all kinds of things, and they just want it to stop. But they keep tolerating his behavior because part of them kind of thinks that maybe they deserve it. They know they're not perfect. They know they do bad things too, and they accept that he has the right to criticize them. And I totally understand that, because I spent most of my childhood feeling that way, right? Adults being angry, being yelled at, feeling like I was a bad person. And so when I got into relationships as an adult, when my partner got mad at me and yelled at me and said horrible things, I thought, well, that's just what happens when two people love each other, isn't it? Right? That's why I wanted to make this video. Love does not feel like getting yelled at and being told you're a bad person. In fact, love is this extraordinarily generous thing. It's better than you think you deserve. It's unbelievable, really. It's this unconditional gift that doesn't rely on you being perfect, never making mistakes, and always measuring up. You get it for life, and it can't be revoked. Love is a much better deal than the deals that most guys offer you. And so in this video, I want to show you what real love feels like. And by real love, I mean the kind of love that is here for a lifetime. Most romantic love fizzles out. So if we want to see real love, we've got to look at those relationships in our lives that have endured. And sometimes we will see that our friends, our family, even our pets have taught us more about what it means to be loved than the men in our lives. So keep watching to discover the 5 signs that it's real love. Sign number 1, it's okay to make mistakes. 2 of my greatest teachers about love were my grandmothers. My first grandmother taught me about love when I was a little girl. I would go over to her house and she would let me play with all of her beautiful, delicate things. So these little figurines made of glass and these gorgeous china teacups. And because I was little, I would inevitably break something. And I would cry and I would cry and I would cry because I ruined it. And she would say, that's okay. And she would promise to glue the pieces back together and it would all be just fine. But that wasn't enough to stop me from crying because I was so ashamed of myself. Here I had broken this beautiful thing, even though I had been so careful. And she would tell me that she always used to break things as a girl too. In fact, her family nicknamed her Messy Vessie because she was always spilling things and dropping things and breaking things. So here I was, this little girl who felt like I couldn't do anything right. And here was my strong grandmother saying that she had been a little girl once just like me. Her love taught me that I could make mistakes, like horrible, irrevocable mistakes, like breaking a glass doll. And it was okay because in love, things get broken and they can always be glued back together again. Sign number 2, love doesn't keep a balance sheet. My second grandmother taught me that love doesn't keep score. When you love someone, you delight in seeing them happy, even if there's nothing in it for you, because you take pleasure in their pleasure. Now, in my 20s, I didn't understand this. I was taught as a kid that everything was quid pro quo. So if someone did something nice for you, that created a debt, and then you had to do something nice to pay them back. And so you ended up not wanting anyone to do anything for you because it always meant you had all these people that you had to pay back. And so when my grandmother was generous to me, and she was so generous, she would pick homegrown roses to put by my bedside. She would get up early to pick me raspberries for breakfast. I always felt so uncomfortable that she was doing all this nice stuff for me when I felt I actually hadn't done anything to deserve it. And it took me years to understand that it pleased her to please people. She loved feeding the people she loved because she delighted in seeing them enjoying themselves. She would have never even thought of expecting something in return. She did what she did because she wanted to do it. And her reward was the pleasure of seeing the people she loved happy. Sign number 3, love doesn't punish you for changing. The third thing I learned about love was from my best friend, who I have known for decades. And we had been through so much, both individually and together. She has changed and I have changed, and we are both very different people to who we once were. But our friendship has remained strong because it doesn't require us to stay the same. So no matter how much I change, she will always be my friend. And no matter how much she changes, she'll still be my friend. So we don't judge each other for the way we change. We just make room for it. Now, I grew up in an environment where people were judging people all the time. And there were good people and there were bad people, and you did not want to end up on the bad side. So as a result, there was only one narrow way to be. And if you stepped out of line, if you changed too much, you were not welcome back. And so it was incredible to me to find out that love doesn't judge. Like, love is spacious. There's lots of wiggle room to try on different ways of being. Love can always accommodate. And as a parent now, I definitely know this to be true, because no matter how much my child changes, no matter how different she becomes, my love will reshape itself to fit her every time. Sign number 4, love apologizes every time it hurts. The fourth thing I've learned about love is actually from my daughter. We get really mad at each other sometimes, and then we apologize as soon as we are capable of doing it. Like every time, like clockwork. It's the first relationship I've had where two people living together try really hard to be good and kind and respectful to each other at all times. But it's not easy, because we are two people living together, right? And mother and daughter to boot. We definitely frustrate each other sometimes. We say the wrong things and we get mad. But what both of us can definitely count on is that as soon as we calm down, there will be an apology, because we've known when we said something hurtful and we want to make it right again. Now, an apology cannot take away the hurt, and it can't erase the fact that we shouldn't have said those things in the first place, but it can get those feelings out into the open. Just acknowledging that you've hurt someone is so important. And adults have to do this just as much or more than children, because our anger is so much bigger and our words cut so much deeper. Sign number 5, love feels safe. The final thing I have learned about love comes from author and life coach Martha Beck. She wrote the most beautiful description of being loved that I have ever read. She tells about taking her daughter Katie to watch the fireworks from the top of a steep hill. And they lay on the roof of their van and they watch as the showers of light explode on the valley below. And afterwards, they lay there in the dark and quiet, just soaking in the experience. And her daughter Katie says, "Fireworks make me feel like I'm home." And her mother is confused. And so Katie elaborates, I feel like I'm home, I'm safe, and it's okay to go to sleep." Now, when I read that, I was like, wow. Have you ever felt that way with someone? Like you're home, you're safe, and it's okay to go to sleep. Well, that's what real love feels like. It feels safe. It welcomes you and embraces you. It feels familiar and happy. And you can let down your guard and drift off to sleep, knowing that all will be well. It's sad that so few of our adult relationships feel like that. But what I hope for you is that you hold out for those that do. Someone who really loves you will treat you like an asset, not a liability. And hey, I'm going to ask something quick of you. Right now, so many of us are out there chasing love that isn't really love. And so many of us are in relationships that don't serve us, but we don't know any different. So would you help me out by educating people and sharing this video around? Talk about what love is. Talk about what it really feels like. If it doesn't make you feel safe and whole and held, then maybe it's not love. And sometimes if we can't find love in our romantic partners, we have to find it in each other. So the love you give matters. And even if the people in your life never say so, they can feel the way you love them, and it reminds them they deserve really good love. Take the very best care of yourself, and I will see you next time.